Brother Abaya. First one, give all praise and glory to the Heavenly Father, which is Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being the Son, who people unknowingly call Jesus Christ. Lord willing, you're enduring, you praying, you fasting, you giving alms, you're doing everything you need to do to make your calling and election sure in these last days. For you sisters out there, Lord willing, you reverencing your husband, you being submissive, you being humble, you being like your foremothers, Sarah, Rachel, Rebecca, Judith, Esther, right, Mary, and the list goes on and on. Right now, there's going to be a video through the Spirit. Shalom to everybody tuning in. There's going to be a video through the Spirit on a day of doom. Because we in the last days, man. We already in the last days. We got to go into the prophecies to warn our people, whether you be new in this truth or whether you be in this thing for some time now. Because we are in the last days. Even Esdras, in the time of Esdras, the Lord said he was in the last days. So how much more now? Salaki, not the day of dooms. That's madness. Salaki, bear with me. Give me one. Salaki, give me 1 second. Salaki. Days technology nowadays. Days of doom. God. Doomsday. I'm going to put day of doom, but we're going to let that stand. It's the Lord's will, right? But it's the day of doom. The day of doom is in the Bible, man. When all hell break loose, when the Lord comes back on a big behind chariot to destroy this place, when you got ICBM missiles going to and fro in the sky to destroy this place. And that's in the Bible, the day of doom. That's prophetic and it's going to happen, right? Let me get this real quick. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 7 and verse, in verse 40. I'll start at verse 42. He answered me and said, this present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. So it says the day of doom is the end of this time. And when you look up doomsday, they got the doomsday bunker. You're going to have the so-called white man hiding in caves. You're going to have everybody hiding in caves, man. That's prophecy. Let me get this real quick. I don't have Revelation chapter 6 in my Bible, but I got another precept I can go to. But when you go to Revelation chapter 6, they're going to be hiding in caves, right? And those caves are those doomsday bunkers. When you look online, these rich people, the rich elites and stuff like that, they have big behind doomsday bunkers where you can live in it for more than 1 year. You got a lot of food. You got pools in it and stuff like that. A TV system. They might have a gaming system, a basketball court, right? They make sure that because they know what's about to go on. So these doomsday bunkers, these rich elites and stuff like that, a fallout shelter like the brother just said, right? They know what's going on, so they want to make it comfy as possible because they know that the Lord's about to come back. And that's in Revelation chapter 6. Let me get this real quick, though. In Isaiah chapter 2, in verse 18. Verse 19. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of Yahweh and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. You see that? When the Lord comes back, the earth going to be shaking. All hell going to be breaking loose. They're going to hide in those caves, and they think they're going to be in good case. But the thing is, when time comes and when prophecy comes to pass, the Lord going to send forth his hunters to bring them out those caves and bring them into the slavery, man. And that's prophecy. The Lord put it on these rich elite spirit to make these caves, to preserve them to be slaves. That's how the Lord get down. Well, let's get back to 2nd Esdras chapter 7. I'm going to read verse 43 again. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time and the beginning of this immortality, the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. So this is it's about to be the beginning of immortality. That immortality is when guess what? When we start when we start ruling, when the Israelites start ruling, we're in those glorified bodies, we're in the spiritual bodies, meaning we don't sin no more, meaning we don't die no more, and we're going to be ruling forever and ever. That's the immortality to come. The Lord right now is setting up the kingdom of heaven, because we are the kingdom of heaven, man. We're the ones who's going to be ruling the earth. We're going to be the government. The 144K is the elect government body to rule the whole earth. Right? Let me get this precept real quick. In Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. Right? Shalom, shalom to everybody tuning in. Kala Ephraim, mighty brother, Pecan. This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. And it reads, And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. Right? So in the days of all these nations ruling right now, the Lord is setting up a mightier kingdom right now, which is the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right? And it reads, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Again, we're the kingdom of heaven. The Lord's putting in our spirit to be built up, right? To be mighty man through the spirit. And when he gives that go ahead, we're going to break in pieces all these different kingdoms. As a good example, you can read it in the time of Joshua, right? When we was in the wilderness, we was on missions to break down these nations. We putting our foot on these other nations' neck. That's going to happen again, right? We're going to be in the second wilderness. The Lord going to give the go ahead to take down these different nations. If that's going to happen again, but guess what? We're going to rule all the earth this time, man. Not just one little piece of land, but we're going to rule all the earth, right? That's prophecy. The Lord said that. Let me get another precept real quick. Let's go to Job chapter 24. That's what the Lord said. Now, a lot of people might say, that's going off. I want the other nations to rule. How come all nations can't make it? Because the Lord didn't say that. We've been in slavery for way too long, man. We didn't really rule that long, man. Right? It's been way too long since we've been in slavery. This whole world was given to us. Let me get that real quick in 2nd Esdras chapter 7 verse 10. This whole world was given to us. But the reason why we lost it, because we are rebellious, bad behind little kids, bad behind grown folks and elders, man. As a nation of people, we've been bad as hell, man. Not keeping the commandments. But this is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 7 and verse 10. And I said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion, because for their sakes I made the world. You see that? He said, for our sakes, he made the world. He said, King Josiah as well, he destroyed all signs of the heathen. You see that? And that's right. Josiah, he destroyed all the images, the groves of the heathen, man. That's what we're going to do again. When the Lord put in our spirit, and he going to tell us to go forth, we're going to destroy the Caesar Borgia. We're going to destroy Shiva. We're going to destroy all these gods, so-called gods, which is not really a god because they can't eat, nor can they hear, right? So we're going to destroy all these dang on idols that people set up. We're going to burn it, man. Right? The same way that David did that. I believe Solomon did that. Right? So we're going to do the same thing. You see that? Let me get this one. Like I read in 2nd Esdras chapter 7 verse 10, the world was made for Israel's sake. This whole world wasn't made for everybody. Again, these other nations were made for our sakes, to be handmaids and servants to us. But we went off. Now, the servants, they rule over us. You see that? Let me get this real quick. In Job chapter 24 and verse 23. And it reads, though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little while. So these so-called white people, they're exalted for a little while. Right? The Lord's looking upon everything. They're exalted for a little while. Right? But are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other and cut off at the tops of the ears of the corn. So the Lord said, in a little while, they're going to be taken out like all other kingdoms, man. What happened to Egypt? What happened to the Assyrian captivity? What happened to the Babylonian kingdom? What happened to the Persian and Medes? Go ask the Grecians if they had 1,000 more years to rule. Go ask the Roman Empire if they had 500 more years to rule. Guess what? They're in the dust. So how much more America, the most wickedness of the wicked of all these kingdoms, they're going to be in the dust too. They're going to be so far down to the dust that there won't be no plants, no trees, nothing bearing fruit in this thing, man. That's how far down, that's how much destruction is going to happen over here because they're so dang on wicked. The Lord said in a moment of time, they're going to be out this thing, man, cut off, right? Verse 25, and if it be not so now, who will make me a liar and make my speech nothing worth? So the Lord's talking his talk, man. If that's not going to happen, hey, make him a liar. Who's going to make him a liar? We're going to see if it's going to come to pass. That's what the Lord is saying, man. Make me a liar if you want to. For the Lord is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. That's Numbers 23 and right now, verse 19. Right? Let me get this real quick. In Revelation. Right? Let me get this place real quick. So like here. Gotta go to the different Bible. This book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 4. And it reads, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." Right? So the Lord is telling us, come out of her, meaning come out from Babylon, the so-called white man's philosophies. Come out of America. Stop cleaving to your enemies, man. You gotta come out of her. For if you join with them, hey, that means you're an enemy, right? That means you're just like them. You're no good to us. So the Lord going to destroy you, whether it be famine, whether it be a pestilence, whether it be by the sword, wild beast, right? The Lord going to do something to you and put you to death in the land of your enemies. That's why the Lord telling you to come out. Romans chapter 12 and verse 2 tells you, be ye not transformed or conform. Let me get that real quick. I don't want to butcher that thing, or I don't want to butcher it up. That's a good precept right there too. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 7. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Exactly. That's what I was going into earlier, man. That's a good precept right there. So the servants upon horses, these so-called white men, these other nations, they're on a high level. They've been exalted right now. And guess what? It says, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. We're the princes, man. We're the prince of God. We're Yasharallah, right? But we're servants right now upon the earth, two servants, because we don't keep the commandments. We're so rebellious and stiff-necked, right? But let me get this real quick in Romans chapter 12. That's a good precept, Malak. This is the book of Romans chapter 12 and verse 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So we can't be conformed to this world, or else you're going to receive all those plagues, like I said in Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. But this is the book of Revelation chapter 18 and verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Right? The Lord's not up there eating some biscuits, eating some fried chicken with some sweet tea, and he forgot all about Esau's, wickedness. He forgot that you was in slavery. He forgot all about you because he got some Kool-Aid and some buttery behind popcorn. That's not happening in the third heaven. The Lord remembers the iniquities of the so-called white men, of these other nations as well. And what's the Lord going to do? He going to judge her double-fold to all her iniquities. Right? So the Lord didn't forget. Let me get this real quick in Genesis real quick. In Genesis chapter 9 and verse 6. Right? Don't forget Cain, right? He's a vagabond and a fugitive on the earth. And the Lord said he's going to reward him sevenfold. 7. And that didn't happen yet. Right? So the Lord didn't forget. He's not a man to forget. When you kind of playing the Lord, that's not happening. But it's the book of Genesis chapter 9 and verse 6. And it reads, let me see. I'll start at verse 5, and it reads, and surely your blood of your lives will I require at the hand of every beast, will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso will sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God may he man. So you kill your brother, which Cain did to Abel. The Lord said, hey, your life has to be taken because you killed your brother, man. And that's what's going to happen right now. Esau and Jacob, we represent Jacob. We come from Jacob. The so-called white man represents Esau. He come from Esau, right? Esau been killing. That's Ezekiel 35 and 5. He been killing us for a long time, man. Ever since Isaac died, and the Lord didn't judge him yet. The Lord's letting his sins pile up all the way to heaven. When it reaches into heaven, when they're so wicked and stuff like that, the Lord's going to come back and judge him, man. That's when he's going to get his judgment. And that's when we going to get delivered. You always have a just balance. There's always one nation on top, other nation on the bottom. Esau's on top and Jacob's on the bottom. But that's going to come to pass that we're going to be on top and Esau on the bottom. That's that parable with Lazarus and the poor man. With the rich man and Lazarus. That's that parable. That's a good parable on what I just said, right? So let's get back to the thing. Because Esau got to pay. The Lord's going to come back with thousands and thousands of chariots to destroy this place, man. To destroy the so-called white men for all the wickedness he have done to the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right? Let me get that real quick. That's why they're coming out with these vaccines. And if you don't get it, guess what they say? They're going to put you in FEMA camps. You might get arrested. All hell gonna break loose if you don't get the FEMA camp. If you don't get the vaccine. So they're slowly but surely trying to take us out this thing, man. right? Let me get Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, right? And every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. So the Lord said, hey, he going to come on a cloud, and every eye going to see him. That's going to be a big behind chariot, like you read in 2nd Esdras chapter 13, and with thousands and thousands of angels, man. The Lord's not coming by himself. When you read Revelation chapter 5 and verse 11, he says he's going to come with thousands of thousands, 10,000 of 10,000s. Paraphrasing. I don't want to butcher that up. Right? I'll get it right now, actually. Right? I'd rather get it than paraphrase it. I don't want to butcher the Lord's words up. Right? But this is the book of Revelation chapter 5 and verse 11. And it reads, and I beheld and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne and the beast and the elders. And the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands. And you can't even number that. You can't even number that. That's how many angels the Lord's coming back, but with 10 times more than that, man. So the Lord's coming back with a lot of angels, man. And the Lord's going to, Yahweh's going to come back in a big chariot for everybody to see. I'm going to read it again, though. Revelation chapter 1 and verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. So everyone that see the Lord is either because they know they're wicked, they know that their kingdom is getting put down. That's the only two reasons why they're gonna be wailing, man. If when you hear when your dad comes back, you did something bad. He's at work or your mom's at work. You call her while she's at work. Yeah, I broke the TV. Blah 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 blah. Then she says, "Wait till I get home." All right, and you already know you about to get your behind whooped when she comes back. Then you hear that garage go up. You might hear the keys jiggle in the door. Hey man, you gonna start crying probably. You gonna run to your room and lock the door because you know what time it is. Same thing with the Lord. These nations, they know their judgment. They know they're about to get destroyed. They don't know when though. The Lord's gonna crack that firmament. When they see the Lord, they know what time it is. It's judgment time, man. Hey, it's judgment time when the Lord's come back. The Lord's coming back as a fierce man of war, right? Let's get this real quick. Because the Lord's going to come back with his strange act. And what's that strange act? That strange act is coming with chariots. Because no one really knows about chariots. I'm going to get this real quick. Let's get Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 21. About that strange act. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 28. And verse 21. And it reads, for the Lord shall rise up as in Mount Perazim. He shall be wroth as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work, his strange work, and bring to pass his act, his strange act. And that strange act is not an act, a play. You go to the movie theater or something like that, you see a play, and that's a strange act. No, that strange act is when he invade with his troops, come back in the chariot, so-called UFOs, and destroy this place, man. That's that strange act, because no one really knows or really believes that that's going to happen. People going to be like, that's strange, man. I never seen that before. You can read about that in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5 and verse 2, right? The same way in Genesis when, Noah was telling people it's going to rain and all stuff like that. It's going to be a flood. You got to understand this, too. It never rained back then, right? So they didn't really believe it because they never seen it with their eyes. But when that actually started happening, guess what? They was banging on the ark, man. But guess what? It was too late. Same thing in this case, right? We represent Noah. We're telling people that the chariot's going to come back and destroy this place. And they don't really believe. They never really seen it with their eyes. But when the Lord comes back, it's going to be too late. We're going to get beamed up in that thing. Guess what? They're going to be banging on the door. They're going to be yelling or something, right? But it's going to be too late. Before I get the other precept, let me get that real quick in Matthew 25. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 25. For time's sake, I'm let me see. Actually, no. The Lord got all the time. Let's get Matthew chapter 25 and verse 1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And these 10 virgins is a complete number. That number 10 is a whole multitude. We represent the virgin, virgin daughter of Jerusalem, right? Let me see. Let's keep going. And 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. So you got half part people in Israel that's wise. They keep the commandments. They studying. They're on fire. Then you have 5 foolish virgins in Israel that's not keeping the commandments. That's slothful, who don't believe in the Lord. Right? Verse 3. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. I mean, they wasn't studying. They probably wasn't on fire. They wasn't doing what they needed to do. Right? Verse 4. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But the wise, if you're wise, that means you're keeping the commandments. You studying. You're on fire. You're doing everything you need to do to make your calling and election sure in these last days. Those are the wise virgins that's going to make it out this thing. Right? Shalakia. Let's keep going. Verse 5. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, that bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. So again, like I was saying before, back then when Noah was out there telling the people it's gonna be a flood, hey, we represent Noah in this thing, man. We're telling the people that chariot's gonna come back. They really don't believe because they really haven't seen it yet, right? Verse 7. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Same thing with the Ark of the Covenant, what's it called? The Ark of the Covenant, the Ark with Noah. They was banging on the door, but guess what? The Lord shut that door. Right? Verse 11. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know ye not. You see that? So back then with Noah, they was banging on that door. But guess what? The Lord basically said to them, I know you not. Same thing in this generation. When the Lord comes back with his chariots, they're going to be, asking for help. But the Lord going to say, I know you not. Right? But let's get this real quick in Habakkuk chapter 3. Right? Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 3 real quick. Then we're going to start winding down. This is the book of Habakkuk. Shalakia. The page is stuck. But this is the book of Habakkuk chapter 3. I'll start at verse 1. And it reads, A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth. O Yahweh, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, revive thy works in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known. In wrath, remember mercy. So Habakkuk was seeing this vision of the Lord coming back, making his second coming. He said, in wrath, remember mercy, man. Because even in the world, even on the carnal level, when you're so angry, you don't care who's in your way. You punching anything that's in your way. So Habakkuk was seeing the Lord angry. He was coming back and destroying everything. Right? Verse 3. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. You see that? So Habakkuk saw the Lord coming back, right? And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. And that when you go into that word horn in the blue letter, it goes into like lasers, beams of light. So when it says the horns and stuff like that, he saw in a big chariot, it was laser beams coming out, and stuff like that. Again, Habakkuk is trying to use the best terminology he can use. He didn't know anything about lasers. He didn't know anything about all this high technology that we know about now, right? So that's why it's important that you go into the blue letter to break down these words, right? Let me keep going. And his brightness was between verse 4. And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him with the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. Dang, man. The Lord. So basically the Lord's coming back and making his second coming. The whole chapter goes into it, but I'm going to jump down to verse 16. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Again, the Lord going to come and invade him with his troops. I mean, he coming back with thousands and thousands of angels, right, in the chariots to take down this place and destroy this place, man. That's what Habakkuk was saying. That's what Daniel saw. That's what John saw. That's what Esdras saw. Even David, let me get that real quick. Even David saw this vision, man. You gotta understand, everybody in the Bible, all the prophets, they saw the same vision, but different viewpoints. Isaiah saw this viewpoint, but John saw this viewpoint. Then you had Esdras, he saw this viewpoint, but again, Habakkuk, he saw this. Right, so everybody had the same vision, but different viewpoints. Like Revelation chapter, let me see what it was. I believe it's Revelation. Let me make sure real quick before I get into that. Right, let me get this real quick. I gotta make sure before I say that. I don't want to say anything wrong. But basically, I'm gonna show you, Lord willing, that Esdras and John had the same vision. Right, but let me get this real quick with David. We're gonna go to Psalm chapter 18. Right, one of my favorite chapters in this thing, man. Right, this is the book of Psalm chapter 18. It's a lot here. I'll start at verse 1. Right, and it reads, I will love thee, O Yahweh, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. I will call upon Yahweh, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. But let's keep going now. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. So David having a vision in the last days that all these ungodly men, he might be getting bound up, about to be taken to a FEMA camp, all hell about to break loose. Basically, he's being surrounded by ungodly men, man, right, in the last days. Verse 5, the sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon Yahweh and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even into his ears. So when David was about to get delivered up, or something was about to happen, he saw in a vision. He said, "Hey man," he said, what's it called? His cry came up before him, even into his ears. Right. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken because he was wroth. So after and we represent David. You might start crying in Jacob's trouble. You start, hey, save me and stuff like that. Next thing you know, you hear that firmament break. You hear the Lord, angry. Hey, you hear the Lord, yelling, screaming. Because you guess what? You had other brothers. They was crying out to the Lord, but the Lord, he had more mercy on you. He was hearing every other brother, but right when you started crying, that's when he came back and called a body or 8 or 7. If you have ears to hear, man. Right? Verse 8. Let me see. I'm going to read verse 7 again. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yeah, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. And that cherub, again, is the same thing that Habakkuk saw in Habakkuk chapter 3. It's the same thing that, John saw in John chapter 19. It's the same thing that Isaiah saw in Isaiah chapter 61, Isaiah chapter 66. The same thing that Esdras saw in 2 Esdras chapter 13. That cherub is a big behind chariot the Lord's coming back in, man. Right? I'm going to keep going, though. Verse 11. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. At the brightness that was before him, his thick clouds passed. Hailstones and coals of fire. Yahweh also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice. Hailstones and coals of fire. Yeah, he sent out his arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomfited them. Those lightnings, again, are the same thing as Habakkuk saw. Those beams of light. Those lasers, man. Right? Then the channels of waters were seen, and the foundations of the world were discovered at thy rebuke. O Yahweh, at the blast of the breath of thy nostril. He sent from above, he took me, he drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy and from them which hated me, for they were too strong for me. So you might be that one brother. Again, everybody else crying to the Lord, please don't let me have to go through this. Please deliver me. But yet they still get their head beheaded. But next thing you know, after 500 people, you're next in line. You start crying to the Lord. right? And he hears it in his temple. It comes to his ears. He hears that. He gets so wroth. The Most High gives him the go ahead. Yahweh to go ahead to take this kingdom out, to deliver you chiefly and the rest of the elect. The Lord going to come back as a fierce man of war. The same way a father, a dad, and his son is at the park. He see that his son's getting beat up, and the dad's going to, whatever he's doing at that moment, he's going to forsake, and he's going to do something about that, man. Whether he start whooping the other kids, he might push the other kids off. He going to deliver the son. Then he going to be cussing up a storm, man. Same thing with the Lord, Yahushua. He going to come. The Most High is the Father. He going to send forth his son to deliver the younger son, which is us. He going to send forth his son to deliver us and redeem us from this hellhole. And guess what? We're going to be saved and with the Lord forever, even forever and ever. Right? So Lord willing, it was edifying. I'm going to give a koholom, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Kwam Nasharallah. We got next. Shalom.